Imagine having so much dope that I can't smoke at all. There's no God. Paying taxes is stupid. Becoming a drug dealer, I thought that was the aha moment, and all the guilt and shame and anger I had left me. The drug had now done what the drug was supposed to do. I was the driver, and that's where one of the first times I had a gun put to the back of my head and said, "Where's the dope? Where's the stash house?" I didn't believe in treatment. I didn't believe in abstinence. I didn't believe I was going to get clean. I didn't believe I was going to get a good life. I thought this was just going to be another 28-day program that lasts longer and leave there to repeat the same thing, because that's what my life is showing me. This man, Don M., treatment guy, I hated this guy. He made me smile. If I walk around here and see you not smiling, I'm going to kick you the f*** out.
You met your match.
Fuck me.
This is Hard Knocks Talks.
How's it going, Doug?
Things are great, Daniel. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here, man.
No, it's actually my pleasure. I've been looking forward to doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And, I finally had the courage to, reach out and say, hey, I want to share my experience, strength, and hope as well.
Yeah. And it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We first started talking about this, I'd say almost a year ago.
Yeah, at least, and like I met you about 2 years ago at one of the Narcotics Anonymous conventions, and, heard about you, and, I listened to some of your podcasts, and I really appreciate what you do for our community. So more of this is needed. So
yeah, thank you. So is there anything that you want to say before we jump in?
Addiction doesn't discriminate, but it certainly can take a hold of you if you're born into it. If you looked at, my family history, why did Doug become an addict? And it wasn't something that I learned in my family. It wasn't something, but the people I associated with introduced me to it, drugs at, 12 years of age. And it was something that I was attracted to. I've met people that were born into it. I met people that were born addicted to heroin, for example, and, and no food to eat, because of the parents or the parent, is 24/7 in search of that high, and the children get left behind. So those are other things that I really, really hope get addressed moving forward in our future governments with, the healthcare system, mental health, and addictions. These are areas that are sadly underfunded.
You mentioned that you started using at 12 years old. Now, was this something that was in your peripherals growing up?
We lived in a small northern community in Manitoba, Thompson, Manitoba. It's a mining community. Through the time, I think it had a population of about 20,000, 25,000 people. My dad moved up there for the mining. My dad's brothers, my uncles, and we were a tight, close-knit family. Like I'm a mechanic by trade, and I was taught that by my family. I was working on cars when I was like 5 years old, and this is like after business hours, and the family and friends would come to work on race cars. There's a whole community. That's where I first got my sips of rye. So eventually, I would be taking sips. And then I'd be pouring my own at a young age.
Like how old?
Probably 12
Yeah.
years old. Somewhere around in there is when I started to
Sneak it?
sneak it, yeah.
So you knew what you were doing was wrong.
I knew what I was doing was wrong, yeah.
Yeah.
Having, being, 10, 11 years old and having 1 ounce of, booze in my system did definitely affect me. And, we would just run around crazy, and it was in grade 8 where I was introduced to more people that were hey man, come to a party, being 13 years old, I guess. And the first parties were eat chips and popcorn and drink and watch movies and stuff like that. But some of my friends had older brothers who were 16, 17 years old, who they were well versed in alcohol and marijuana use, and even some other, cocaine. My friends, older brothers, and their friends really enjoyed experimenting with children, really, like, hey, drink this, pouring, 4 or 5 or 6 ounces in, into my cup, and then 1 ounce a mix, and making me drink it all down.
Wow.
And like I remember like being so sick, like 13 years old, in the bathroom, puking my guts out, thinking I'm going to actually die, and praying to God, like, please save me. I don't want to die.
Yeah. Did you believe in God?
No.
No.
I don't know what I really believe in, and that story changes throughout my life as well. So, maybe in a desperation, like, God, please save me, but I'll never do this again. Please save me. I'll never do this again. And then next Friday,
Yeah.
like, hey man, are we doing this again? Where are we going? I got $5,
Yeah. That's like the Jelly Roll song. I only pray to God when I need a favor.
Yeah, that song really resonated with
Yeah,
me a
I
lot,
think I think it resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah,
He's blowing up.
absolutely.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you were quite immersed. I mean, you're saying you're seeing cocaine as young as 13 years old, and not
Yeah.
necessarily doing it, but you're
Yeah,
seeing it.
yeah.
So where did you graduate high school?
No, I quit school in grade 11 because I really enjoyed, the Friday nights and Saturday nights. And then, eventually, we're cutting class at school, getting high.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I started, bringing little Mickey's booze to school and putting in my locker. And it was more for attention seeking rather than needing a drink at school. It was like the attention. Wow, man, you're crazy. You're going to get caught. You're going to get busted. You're going to get suspended.
It's really interesting, the way that you just framed that. You didn't need a drink; you needed the attention.
Yes.
You needed to be seen drinking.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh? That's
And
interesting.
in my early ages, it was, I liked the effect of getting high because there was a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
There was a lot of crazy stuff going on, but it wasn't crazy like it is like what I've experienced in active addiction. And I didn't know then what chemically was happening to my mind and my body and stuff like that. I just knew that I liked the effect, I liked the attention, I liked to be part of the action.
Mm-hmm.
In grade 10, I went to live with my mom in Toronto for grade 9. So I was 14. I went to Toronto, but yeah, like the unhealthiness with my mother. Let's talk about that for a second. Because like I said, like when my parents separated when I was like about 8 years old, my mom had to leave the relationship. And that relationship is the same behavior problem that I had. And when I talked to my mom, when I got clean in recovery in 2014, making those amends to her, which we can talk about later, the process of the healing, is, Mom, like, I'm really sorry for the way I treated you from a young age, And I said, I don't know why. I don't know why I treated you this way. And I don't know why I'm mad at you. Like, I was mad at my mom for so long. I forgot the reason why.
Mm.
And she said, I could tell you why. And one of my first visits to Toronto, when I was probably 11 or 12 years old, prior to moving there, when I was 14, is, this is my boyfriend, Paul.
Mm.
And I'm like, what? I was mad. I was pissed. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, he's not,
Mm-hmm.
And, well, he takes good care of me and he loves me. I said, oh, I also had the dream of being an NHL hockey player because hockey was a big part of my life. I'm going to make it to the NHL. I'm going to become rich and I'm going to take care of you, not him. Those were what she told me. And like, wow, I remember that. And this man was a good man. And I hated him. He tried to be nice to me, bought me a nice watch, take us out to, my birthday, nice dinners and stuff like that. And,
Mm-hmm.
at these events, I would be a little prick, embarrassing my mother in order to make him
Want to leave.
And that was my mindset. And, and I think that's another trauma of my story, and where like having to keep the women in my life by, control, separating them from other people or other things that might take them away from me, and I was never giving back. You love me, you do as I ask, on my time, stuff like that. And that was from a young age as well. But like I didn't even know what love was, and I still don't truly understand what love is. Although I definitely know that love is not what I thought it was. I thought girlfriends were like my property and, like stuff like that. In grade 10, now 16, I had my driver's license. So now I had access to get around more. And the parties were more. And, I started working when I was 16, 17, because I quit school. My dad said I needed a job.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't really help anything because now I had money to chase the things I wanted. But yeah, and that's where, after work, drinking and going to after night parties was a thing. And I ended up meeting a woman, a waitress. She's the mother of my oldest daughter today, but 18 years old, being a parent. I was not prepared to be a father at the age of 18 because I wanted to buy a house. I had all these visions of being the best dad in the world and more than what I had, and it was prestige, property, possessions, those kind of ideals in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to provide that to my children. So the drinking on a daily basis, the partying, the after parties did stop, but the drinking didn't stop. I took a year off from racing in order to bring the child into our life so I could be there as a dad. But what I found is I couldn't stay away from racing. Although I wasn't driving a race car,
Mm-hmm.
I was still working on my buddies' race cars all night. I was still going to races all the time. And so I was still spending just as much time away from home in order to be in the race car environment. So anyway, she said to me one night, she's crying, and I'm like, can you take care of the baby's crying, like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning? Can you go feed the baby? I said, hey, you want this baby? You take care of the thing, was something that came out of my mouth. And then, like, please, 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 please. I go get the baby and I'm trying to feed a bottle and I'm mad and I'm pissed off and like, on the couch and the baby's crying and I don't know why I won't talk, like I'm yelling. I remember, throwing an ashtray across the room, like whatever. I can't remember the exact words, but, picking up the ashtray and throwing it across the room, throwing a bottle. So anyway, she said, if you go to the races tomorrow night, I'm leaving. I said, yeah, go ahead. I dare you. She calls me like the next day or whatever. Yeah, I'm in Edmonton. I'm living with my sister. I left. I'm leaving you.
Mm.
I'm scared for my life. I'm scared for a baby's life. And like, I was like, and again, anger issues, that feeling of like the loss of power and control I had over someone who's supposed to love me, and that all again. So that happened in like September of 1995. Both my daughter's mother and I were both heavily consumed in, drinking and the unmanageability, jealousy, the fighting we did. Like we had physical fighting. There was lots of finger pointing, and that just led to a really unhealthy life,
Mm-hmm.
never mind the drinking, but just even the parenting, the family dynamics of what we're bringing a daughter into. I just opened up our business in April of 1995.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of work, lots of racing, but, having a baby. The baby was born June 2nd of 1995, our daughter Cassidy.
Mm-hmm.
And September, my wife was leaving me, taking my child, taking the brand new car I just bought. And yeah, I ran away from that responsibility. And I was chasing my hopes of becoming a NASCAR race car driver at a young age. Like now I'm working. I got a job as a mechanic at a GM dealership, professionally working on cars, learning. And the idea was to go to school and become a Red Seal technician and stuff like that. But because I was raised working on cars, I just naturally went into it with a talent that was given to me by my family. And then an opportunity came up in Winnipeg. I have an uncle that works at a dealership, and he said, hey, we're looking for mechanics, and they pay this much money per hour. And I'm like, that's twice as much as I'm getting paid here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll take that job. So yeah, I did that, and right away chasing that money, chasing that money to race more and to get better stuff and chasing that goal of being a NASCAR hero one day. I felt I was in a place in my life where I had everything I ever wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So through that growing stage from 20 to 35, I achieved pretty much everything I ever wanted. I also wanted to own my own business, which, you know, me and my other coworkers said, hey, like, screw the dealership thing and like how the customers are getting ripped off kind of thing. So that's what I do. And I started making more money at home in 3 or 4 hours at night than I did in 8-hour shift at work.
Mm.
And then my friends were doing that as well. I brought them in and we said, well, we're going to open up our own business, registered a business. One of the managers at the dealership was reading New Business Digest or whatever. And hey, Bullet Auto Service, new business, proprietors, Doug. I found out about this. I was hauled off the car into the office. I was fired immediately without just cause, which technically probably they maybe did. So we opened up our own business, me and my partner, again, but that lasted for 5 years. Again, the racing, he was showing up to work. He helped me on the race car, but he was the one who showed up and unlocked the door. I was the one who locked the door because I was working until 2 o'clock in the morning on a race car. I was also in another relationship. The relationship, the drinking and showing up late, my life, like, because the relationship was unhealthy and drinking and not showing up in the morning and being late all the time, my partner finally pulled a shotgun clause and said, you either buy me out or I'm buying you out because we're no longer working together. So what I did right away is I found a bigger shop, 30 years old, and I'm buying $1 million business on a payment plan. But so I've been a business owner for 10 years. I was racing all the time. I had a nice race car transport hauler system going on. I had fans. I had people that loved me. But so I was in another relationship, and that part of the reason why my partner said, you got to go, is because the relationship that I was in was unhealthy. And she was helping me in my books. Well, this woman was embezzling my money.
Okay.
And I wanted to do things that were not to be spoken of. Because I caught her. I had proof that she was embezzling my money. And at the time, I stopped counting when it went over $100,000. And I went insane. I clinically went mad,
Anger.
Like unbelievable, the most rage I've ever had in my life. March 6th, I get a phone call from my now ex-wife's sister. Hey, Doug, I'm at work. Cassidy's dead. And I thought, this is part of the game. No, your daughter's really dead. What are you talking about? She died. She's really dead. She died in her crib. That's when drinking changed for me. And the party was over. Hey, I got to go home. The wife's expecting me. I got to get the kids to school in the morning. I didn't have that. I didn't have that anymore. My whole life was just like stripped from me. My whole identity was taken. And like, I didn't have that responsibility. I'm sure I had a job and a business to run, but I also had a partner and he'll take care of it. And when I would drive home, I often thought about driving into oncoming traffic. If I was a better dad, if my wife never left, this accident would have never happened. That is what I believed. Later in life, like 10 years later, because that happened in 96. So that lifestyle led to the drinking, amendability, the racing, all that kind of stuff. So in 2005, just about 10 years later, the new associations I was slowly making over the time led me to different people. And when I caught my then girlfriend embezzling money from my business, and a lot of it, my thought pattern was very unhealthy. Meeting new people, I found more people were thinking the way I did and were drinking to change the way they felt. And again, I was so angry. And I replaced the anger of my daughter being lost through addiction of racing and money and all those other things. So I didn't have to think about that. But when my girlfriend ripped me off, it brought those feelings back, plus additional feelings of things I wanted to do for revenge. Everything that happened to me, weren't lessons of like, you need to change. It was like engraving, you need to get even, and stuff like that. That's where I was introduced to after parties. But this is where I was introduced to, crack cocaine and, just using little tiny amounts of it. And I didn't even get an effect. But I knew I couldn't tell my friends and family I was doing this. So that it started slowly, but within 6 months, my mindset had changed from wanting to hurt other people to I don't give a about anything anymore. I wanted to become a drug dealer. I wanted to be the Tony Montana of Winnipeg, Manitoba, and like, wow, introduced to drug dealers and that lifestyle, and like, you can make a lot of money doing this. within 6 months, I stopped showing up to work. I stopped showing up to my own business. I was pulling every dime I had out of my business, like the bank account. I was draining the bank account because now my, $30 a day habit turned into a $300 a day habit. And again, the mindset of what I thought life was, and like, there's no God, paying taxes is stupid, becoming a drug dealer and not giving a shit about life I thought that was the aha moment, and all the guilt and shame and anger I had left me. The drug had now done what the drug was supposed to do. Give me the feeling of powerful, sexy, in control, living my best life.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. I'm not working anymore. I'm just living my life as it's the last day I have. I tried to sell drugs and all that kind of stuff.
Did you have any success?
I had one of the best customers in Winnipeg.
You?
Me. Yeah. So, yeah, I had limited success.
Yeah.
I was a loving, sharing kind of guy, which attracted a lot of friends, which attracted a lot of promises to pay, and a lot of new people. And, hey, man, I owe you some money. Can you drive me around so I can go do this so I can pay you? And that's where I was introduced to being a driver. Like you watch movies, Baby Driver, and like,
With,
being a driver.
Jason Statham.
Yeah, like those kind of things. And I'd watch those movies and I said, man, look at that guy. He's insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So I became this driver, driving people around so they can do their crime in order to pay me. I got a high off of that.
No doubt.
No doubt. And then through that lifestyle.
Sounds like fun, actually.
Yeah, it was. It was, yeah, like the blood and guts of addiction. Like this was like a new high for me. I got more high off of that. Of course, I'm using while doing this. But that excitement, that thrill, that was a new rush. That was an adrenaline rush in itself. And through that associations, and not being able to score and having the money that was owed to me, hey, this guy, I'll introduce you to this guy. And that guy seen me and he fell in love with me right away. And I will pay you this amount of money, but it wasn't money, it was dope, to drive me around. I'd be up for 7 days in a row, 24 hours a day, driving around. That's what we did. That was my first introduction to being like,
are we talking gangs now?
Just between the gangs. Like private, independent broker, for example. But we had the connections on this side, the high side, and we had the connections on the low side. This guy was independent and well respected, so he worked with both sides. And I was introduced to people on both sides, and that's where I first experienced near death, because I was this paid driver, and like, imagine having so much dope that I can't smoke at all. But in those associations, I was the driver, and I didn't know where the stash was, but people assumed I did. And that's where one of the first times I had a gun put to the back of my head, and said, where's the dope? Where's the stash house? I said, I don't know. And I don't know what kind of gun it was to the back of my head, but I'm in the car. My boss was off, he goes on his little walk, and that's where the gun came to the back of my head. And, like, where is he? And then when he came back, the gun was put down for a second as he jumps into the car with like an ounce of crack that these guys wanted to buy that they had no money for, because they were strung out. And that's where the gun came out and put the back of my head, give us the fucking money or we're going to shoot your driver. And he said, no, you can't do that. That's my wife's brother. Don't. If I go home without him, I will be dead. Do not do that. Here's the dope. I don't think he gave the dope right away, but you need to pay for this. And so that's when I was now with a gun to the back of my head doing home invasion, being a driver for a home invasion. Yeah, that was my first near-death experience as far as I'm concerned. And when we were driving, the guy fired the gun out the window at another car.
Did you think at this point, did you recognize that the drugs were bringing this unmanageability to your life?
No, because I thought the lifestyle was everything I ever wanted.
Oh, so you're still in it. You're still loving it.
Oh, I'm still loving it, yeah.
You went and bragged about having a gun to your head?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Oh, I had a gun in my head. Oh my God, man, we got so high, and like, here's all the dope, and we're all smoking, and getting high, and telling the story, and we're all laughing and giggling, thinking it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, like I never thought, oh my God, I better get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I'm in, like I'm invincible,
Mm.
and like my boss is paying other guys who are just getting out of jail, an 8 ball. I need you to go break this guy's legs. He hasn't paid me money. Phone me when his legs are broken. Okay, it's done. The dope was given in advance, half of it and another follow up when the job is done. And then finding out later that Tim, or whoever the name was not legs broken. Some other guy named Tim's legs were broken.
Oh,
Probably
no.
some individual who had nothing to do with this world in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and laughing about that,
Mm.
and like, Italian guy, Italian mafia, like, and I was attracted to that again. Like, I wanted to be that Tony Montana kind of guy. And like, I used to be a fairly heavier guy, and in my addiction, I lost. I was probably 200, 210 pounds kind of back then. I
Mm-hmm.
ate well,
Mm-hmm.
and I got down to like 140 pounds. Because we just up for days on end and not eating and stuff like that. But again, I thought that lifestyle, like, man, I'm up 7 days and I'm driving. I got giving dope away, and like that dope habit, turned from the 30 to 60 to 300 to probably well over $2,000 a day,
Yeah.
and for a month. And I was doing this for like 6, 7 months
Mm.
until I got fired from that position because I could no longer function because, staying up for that many days, disappearing. Now I'm disappearing. He can't get a hold of me because I'm a paid driver. Right? When the phone rings, pick it up and be there. And that was my job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm using with someone else. I don't want to take that phone call.
So after all this, like, what finally did it? Like, what could possibly be worse?
So after all this, I lost my vehicles because I
Mhm.
can no longer afford to keep them on the road. I became so useless to my dealers as a paid driver or a paid delivery person, you know, or an assistant or anything like that. Like, you got to go. I don't want you around anymore. You're bringing me down. You're bringing my organization down.
Mhm.
You're untrustworthy. You don't show up on time. You're late. Okay, I got to get away from Winnipeg. Like, I'm going to get killed here. I didn't want to stop using. I just need to find different people to use with
Mm.
because I still felt that is the ultimate. And I thought to myself, as long as I'm high, I don't care if I die. Because I felt I should be dead anyways. Because I really blamed myself for my daughter's death.
Mhm.
I felt I should be the one who's dead, not her. And I didn't believe in God or God was punishing me. So yeah, I ran away to Ottawa, became a new functioning addict, took over a den kind of a thing because the guy there who owned the house, he couldn't really manage it properly.
So now you're running a trap house.
Yeah, again, the women, the fun, the excitement, borrowing people who have I didn't even have a license. Hey man, we need you to load up again and go get. I need your car. So I'm taking their car, no driver's license, completely whacked out of my mind, days up on end,
Mm-hmm.
picking up, coming back. This pocket's full of mine. This pocket is what I bring to the table.
Mm.
And everyone shares that. And then we're gone. I got the girl. I bring the other stuff out, right? Again, thinking I'm like Tony Montana and like, but yeah, so I finally trying to get clean away from the dope. I'm in Ottawa. Like, the being homeless and the only thing I had in my money pocket was dope, and I couldn't sell the dope.
Mm.
And being hungry and no place to, it became, I didn't want that anymore. I wanted a better way of using.
Okay.
Yeah, not a better way of life,
Okay.
just a better way of using and
Okay.
thinking that a new location, and I'm not going to smoke crack anymore.
Mm.
I'm still going to use alcohol. And so I got myself in Ottawa, I got myself on the welfare, my own place finally, and I'm not smoking crack. But I'm, like, okay, I'm stable. I'm still doing crime to support myself because welfare didn't pay enough. So I felt I was living. I was going to the pool halls. I was going to some bars again. I was playing pool again. But anyways, being off the dope for a few months allowed me to make a phone call home. Dad, yeah, it's Doug. Yeah, I'm doing great. No, no, I don't want to come home. I'm doing really good in my life right now. I'm not on drugs anymore. I got a nice place to stay. I'm building up my life. Ottawa is beautiful. I don't know anyone who uses. And yeah, life is really good. And Doug, just come home. Just come home. Yeah, Dad, no, I don't want to, Dad. But I need the phone number for. I didn't even know my daughter's phone number. I need Robin's phone number because it's her birthday next week.
Mm-hmm.
March 4th. And he said, okay, this is her number. Okay, if you need to get hold of me, this is the number you can get at. Unfortunately, I don't think I was able to call my daughter because I started using again a little bit. So I think I missed her birthday again. And I went 4 years without my daughter knowing was dead or alive, my daughter Robin. 4 years went by that I never called her to wish her happy birthday. And I thought if I could call her on her birthday on March 4th that day and say, happy birthday, Robin, I love you, that would be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never make that call. But anyways, I did call her and say, hey, Robin, I'm doing really good in life. Sorry I missed you the other day. I just got busy and, I'm looking for a job and all that kind of stuff. Whatever lies I had to do, to make myself feel better and to give her some hope. And so here's the number where I'm at. I didn't have a cell phone because the number you can reach me at is the owner of the house. I go, hey, Doug, your daughter phone, you got to call her. It's really important. Fucking, I'm dope sick. And I was thinking of calling my dad, hey, Dad, because I spent the rent.
Mm-hmm.
I always smoked the rent. In the end, no matter what, I smoked the rent.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs are more important than paying the rent. And I was thinking of calling my dad to give him some bullshit story. Hey, Dad, can you help me out with some money for rent? But I didn't want to make that call because I'm still jonesing. I'm still dope sick. And Doug, you got to call your daughter. I'm trying to hustle. I'm going out hustling and getting a bit of money and buying dope and just trying to get better, And then the next day, Douglas, call your daughter now. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
And she gives me the phone and the number's already trilling, right? And I said, Robin, it's Dad. What's the matter? Your dad's dying.
Mm-hmm.
And, the memory of Cass, what my dad's Superman, how can he be dying? And she gave me, she hooked up a plane flight. The landlord drove me to the airport right away. I was on a plane within 2 hours of that phone call.
Mm-hmm.
I left everything, crack pipe, dope. And I got the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I left with the clothes on my back to Winnipeg and straight from the airport to the hospital to find my dad. Surrounded by, brothers and sisters and, my Robin's mother and, everyone was there but me.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been trying to get a hold of me for days. And I got there and, I said, Dad, it's me. And they said, here, hold your dad's hand. I held my dad's hand and I said, Dad, it's me. I'm home. And I could feel just the lightest squeeze. No, hey, Doug, how's it going? I love you. Just dear death. I stayed with my dad. So did my sister for the next few days. I think it was 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
They said they took him off of life support basically. His internal organs shut down. Flesh-eating disease started here, spread. They opened him up. There's nothing they could do for him. They just told me don't touch his stomach because it's still open, kind of bandaged up. But I lied in my dad's bed, hospital bed, for the next couple of days. And, praying to God. God, I will change. I will stop. I will stop. Just save my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I pleaded for days, prayed for days, swore to God, if you save my dad, I will stop. I will change my life. I will be the man I'm supposed to be. And then, I'm lying in bed with my dad. I think my sister was on the other side because we were, lying in the hospital bed, just holding him. There wasn't a whimper, it was just here listening to him breathe. And he gets up. And I thought, he's alive. Fell back down. And the beat thing, beep, beep, it stopped. Straight up and just the big gasp. I thought miracle,
Mm-hmm.
dead. And when he told me he's dead, fuck you, God. All bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm left with my father's inheritance, my sister as well. My uncle says, hey, here's your... He didn't know the whole truth of what was going on because the story was I was doing good in Ottawa. And my uncle says, here's your dad's wallet and checkbook. It's a couple $100 in there. Get some food. Get some rest. And I'll see you tomorrow. Credit cards, cash. All bets are off. And it was like, God has now taken my daughter. God has now taken my dad. My life is fucked. I'm better off dead. So I had nothing to live for. And I had a pocket full of cash again and lots of credit cards with high balances. I didn't tell my sister I had the credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, fucking the Tony Montana. I'm going to fucking live my life as if it's the last second I got. And yeah.
Mm.
So that was 2007, April. My
Yeah.
dad died April 20th.
Mm-hmm.
But after my dad died, it's a new thing, And like I had my boss, like when my dad was alive, when I'd come home, and that's where my boss, the Montana, the Italian guy, would come in there. Where's your son? Blah blah blah.
Wow.
And like, what parent knows what to do when your son or child is involved in this lifestyle and you have no experience with it? I think all my dad knew is if I'm at home, I'm safe. So I know my dad was in a wheelchair and he was asking me to help work on his car. He was restoring his 1964 Galaxy, his dream car. He finally got it. And Doug, I need help. My dad's in paralyzed waist down.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, I need help to put the rear bumper, the Continental kit on my car. I'll be out in a minute. And he enabled me. And I don't know he knew he was enabling me. I just knew that he knew that I was at home, and if I was at home, I was safe. Because I had to call him a few times, Dad, I need help. I need you to come and get me. I don't know where I am. There's people after me. And he would come 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to a location, Tim Hortons or something, where I was able to finally beg the people to let me use the phone to call my dad, My dad always came to my rescue, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
He loved me no matter what. He was watching me kill myself. But he was powerless. The status of being a paid driver down to being homeless, to being sleeping on the streets, to being mugged for $5, going hungry. I couldn't even maintain showing up to the homeless shelter at a certain time to get a bed.
Mm-hmm.
And using with people, and if I had $20 in a day of garbage, if I was able to buy a 20 piece and it was fake, that was my only hope for that day. I tried to be the connection guy, and it would go for work for a day or a weekend, and new trap house to new trap house to new trap house. But I was never able to manage that for more than a week or two at a time. You need to go to detox. What the fuck is detox?
The trap house managers were telling you need to go to detox.
Exactly. I'm walking, I'm looking like, what are these people doing sleeping on the streets with their ass hanging out and filth? Here I am. I'm no better than these guys. I thought I was. Oh my God. And then I get to this door and it's locked and I'm banging on the door and I could see a guy and he's looking like this and I'm looking. Oh, ring the doorbell. What do you want? I need detox. Is this it? Yes. Buzzes me in. And this was It was a place where people would go to like kind of detox, get a bowl of soup and a coffee while they're strung out, because you can't go into the homeless shelter when you're strung out.
Mm.
You know, you had to appear sober. And these people were in there, they're drinking sanitizer. Like, you know, they're stealing bottles of sanitizer from stores and mixing with water, and what the holy fuck? Like, what the hell is this? And like, I've never seen a level of this much despair in my life. Even in all the stuff I was doing from trap house to trap house, and, you know, using with people that were, you know, on welfare and homeless and their kids were starving, I never seen the level of this despair,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which, and like, oh my God, I don't belong here. But looking back, I did belong there. I was one of them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and, you know, I started writing a book like back then. This is like 2010. This is February of 2010, wintertime, like cereal and toast, sleep. And then after, by like day 4 of like, you know, I'd get up, I'd sleep for like 8 hours, 9 hours, get up, have a bowl of cereal, have some toast, and go back to bed. And like after about 3 or 4 days, you know, the worker comes and says, Doug, you need to attend this meeting. What meeting? It's an NA meeting. Just get out of bed and be there, or else we're going to kick you out. And that's where I first shared at a meeting of narcotics, this little meeting, because I never shared anything. You know, introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Billy, I'm an addict. Hey, I'm Billy, I'm a dual addict. Hey, I'm Billy, I'm an alcoholic. Whatever people's names are. Yeah, I'm Doug. I'm not an addict. Like, I didn't think I was. I didn't even know what addiction was. I didn't know what an addict was. Like, hey, I'm Doug.
Mm.
You know, would you like to share? Yeah, you know, yeah, I smoke crack. You know, I've been like, today's the day my daughter died, you know, in 1996. I don't want to live like this anymore. Pass. Because prior to that, I would just like, Doug, would you like to share? Pass. I learned pass. Would you like to share? Pass. Would you like to share? Pass. But March 6th was weighing heavy on me. And I needed to be the dad for her that I never was.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't know. Like, I went to this 28-day treatment program, Addictions Foundation in Manitoba. Yeah, on day 28, the day I was supposed to graduate from the treatment program, I was getting ready to celebrate. You know, I had a welfare $90 check ready to spend. I had a girlfriend that was the powerlessness of it, thinking I'm unstoppable, and, you know, I'm going to buy some dope and give her some gifts and get back to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My friend that I met in treatment there, he said, yeah, you can come and stay at my place because you got the connections. I got family who takes care of me. They give me money. So we have a steady flow of income. So, yeah, you'll be my guy.
Mm-hmm.
You can live at my place for free as long as you keep me connected. Right on. Yeah, so, but that was my first experience with recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was work. You know, in recovery, they had, this is where I was first introduced to Indigenous 7 sacred teachings.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wasn't willing to work with God, and I was angry, because like in the counseling courses they had there, so Doug, tell us why you're here. You know, this is like March of 2010. So Doug, tell us why you're here. Well, I got a drug problem. What do you think? That attitude. No, Doug, why are you really here? How do you feel? What are you running away from? Tell me about your daughter.
Mm.
0 to 100 in like 1 second. Red, anger, and management. Getting up, kicking whatever's in my way, and walking out the door. Like, do you have a daughter that's dead? No? Well, then shut the fuck up, because you don't know what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
After 2010 and this little experience with recovery, I found myself a year later back in detox. But this time, the whole thing that took from 2006, 2005 to 2010, that whole process happened in 1 year now.
Mm.
So this time I knew where I needed to go. I'll just go to detox. I'm going to go to treatment for 28 days. I'm going to get back on the welfare, and I'm going to get rolling and balling again. Just I'm not going to use with those people, and I'm not going to go those, and I won't go to that area of town. And this time I'm going to go to a halfway house, a recovery house, where you're not allowed to use, where you have to get a job, and you have a curfew, and all these rules to protect you. There's an in-house meeting once a week, and you got to go to the meeting every night. This is going to be what saves me. I stayed clean at 28 days. Connected with the elder, has given a spiritual name, Sabe Eto. Walks with honesty. Wow. Walks with honesty. Because I was a pretty shady guy my entire life, but I always thought I had some morals. That impacted me. Probably my first spiritual awakening, as you may call it. I was going to sweat lodges. I was praying. I was smoking the pipe, passing the pipe around, learning about the 7 teachings. And I recall sharing with the elder a vision, a dream that I had while hunting one night with my buddy, a native fellow. But I had a dream, a vision that a wolf was on my chest, like gnarling at me. And I'm trying to reach for my gun, the rifle, so I can kill it. And his paw puts his paw over my hand on the rifle. Stop killing. And then I truly believe it was a wolf spirit coming to me at an early age to stop killing, whether that's killing nature, killing the world, killing yourself, I don't know. But I shared that with the elder, and he shared his thoughts on me. And yeah, I believe that was a vision, to stop the damage. But anyways, that connected me. And then I went to this treatment program, this halfway house. And, I got some clean time. I got some actual clean time. But one of the guys that I was in treatment with, again, knew my girlfriend very well. And I was staying clean. I was doing the things I was needing to do. I was going to welfare appointments. I was doing job appointments. I got a job, It was washing dishes in like a 4-star restaurant, I thought I was balling, free food, money again. Staying off the hard dope, But eventually my buddy says, hey, man, I met your girlfriend last night. We got high. You were teasing me about it. I was able to do that a couple of times, maybe a couple of weeks, once in a while, and got to be home at 10 o'clock until I didn't get home at 12 o'clock and got home at 4 o'clock. And blast horn into my face in the morning. Get out, you're out. Again, back to that circuit.
So, Doug, what brought you into recovery?
Yeah, I keep getting around that, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
What was it? What clicked? What was the last time you used? What was different?
Okay. April 7th, 2014. My girlfriend never came home. I smoked her rent, and I was looking at being evicted once again. Notice was on the door. I had repaired the relationship with my mother a bit because I was doing pretty good, I emailed my mother to say goodbye. I said, Mom, I'm using again. I'm probably going to do something stupid, and I won't be able to talk to you ever again, probably. Because I thought I was going to get myself killed in order to get high or go to jail or be killed in the process. That triggered an intervention. And a cousin of mine that I hadn't seen for a long time called me up. It was a Monday morning. I didn't go to work. He said, Doug, what are you doing at home? His cousin Ryan. I said, oh, man, I'm sick. He said, no, you're not. You're a crackhead. You're dope sick. We're going to get you help. You're going to come to Vancouver. You're going to go to a treatment center. I went there. He told me a story. Worse than mine.
Couldn't be.
Oh, it was. And I got well. I went to this treatment center. I stayed there for over a year. I got my life better. I got my son in my life. I got a vehicle. I got a job. Blah, 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 blah. And you're going to do the exact same thing. My other aunt came and got me out of that house, my apartment. She let me stay at her place for 2 days so I can get a driver's license and some temporary ID so I can get onto a plane. And they flew me to Vancouver. I didn't think I was going to treatment that day, but he brings me to this place. And they said, okay, what do you think? Do you think you'd like to be here? And you think you'd like to be here? And I said, yeah, this looks pretty good. And I said, okay, I will. Okay, you can't smoke, you can't do this, you got to go to 2 meetings a day, you got to do step work. Narcotics Anonymous program. Prior to getting to that treatment center, my cousin took me down East Hastings. He said, if you don't get clean, this is where you're going to be. He drove me down East Hastings. And I thought that back lane to the drunk tank and detox in Winnipeg was bad. I was introduced to an entire nether life, a complete war zone disaster. I've never seen that in my life. And I didn't want that for myself. And I believed him that. Because he told me, if you get loaded, you get kicked out. You're not coming to my place. This is where you will be. So I go to this treatment center. They introduce me. They tell me all the rules and stuff. And I would be homeless otherwise, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this place was like, it looked pretty good. And they said, okay, Doug, your mother paid for 2 months of treatment. We can get you in right now. I was mad. Why is my mom paying for treatment for me? Because I knew how much money this place was. It was like $8,500 a month. And my mom prepaid for 2 months of me to get well. And I didn't even have a relationship really with my mother. So I started doing the meetings, 2 meetings a day, 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night, doing step 1, having to write. The first thing they do is have you write about your last 90 days. Talked about the drugs I was using. I was talking about the girls I was with. I was talking about getting ripped off and how that, and I have to get sign-offs and take this little thing around, and it had to be about 2 pages. Take this around and get people to read it and sign off on it and give you feedback. And I'm like, the one guy says, this is absolute garbage. I don't want to know about the drugs you use. I want to know about how you felt. How did you feel about your last 90 days? So I had to rewrite it. I felt hopeless. I felt like death was a better option and jail would have been way better, you know. But, you know, in the end, I didn't want to live anymore. That's how I felt. Now, where would you like to be? It's your hopes, dreams, and goals. Where would you like to be in the next 90 days, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year? Okay, I already wrote about how I felt. Now, what are my hopes, dreams, and goals? So I wrote this stuff down. And some of the key points is around the 9 months' time, I wanted to be working and have my own apartment, going to meetings, being a sponsor. But mostly I want to reconnect with Roblin. I want to be a good dad to her. I want to get 1 year clean. I want to be, you know, my goals. I want to be remembered as my father is remembered by his friends and family. I don't want to be remembered at my funeral as a hopeless drug addict stain on society. Doug was a good guy. He helped people. He cared for his children. He provided. He was a good man. I didn't want to stop using it at that time, but these were some hopes, dreams, and goals. At 90 days clean, my daughter just happened to be in Vancouver for her friend's wedding. She was sitting by my side when I took my 90-day key fob at an NA meeting. I gave it to my daughter. There was tears in both her eyes. It's the first time I've seen my daughter in such a long time. I didn't even know how to have a relationship with my daughter. So I had to have a support member of my treatment center come with me to make sure I stayed on point, to keep me on the right path, because I didn't know what to do. He wasn't a parent. He was just able to keep me accountable, get me there on time, make sure I don't say something stupid. And if I do, be there to help me, you know?
Yeah.
90 days clean, my daughter's by my side. Unbelievable. Second spiritual awakening. But I was threatened to get kicked out of treatment many times. They called me Ehor. Hey, Doug, what's the matter? How are you? Fine. What's the matter? Fine. How come you're not happy? This is stupid. Like, what is this going to do for me? I didn't believe in treatment. I didn't believe in abstinence. I didn't believe I was going to get clean. I didn't believe I was going to get a good life. I thought this was just going to be another 28-day program that lasts longer and leave there to repeat the same thing, because that's what my life has shown me. That's what I felt about myself, that I wasn't really worth it. So although my daughter was by my side at 90 days clean, I still didn't have faith in the program. I still didn't have a higher power because I blamed God
Mm-hmm.
for the death of my daughter. I blamed God for taking my dad from me. I blamed God for the way my life is. And I thought I deserved it. And he's punishing me for the life I lived. From little experts I hear from the Bible kind of a thing. So anyways, this man, Don M., treatment guy, my counselor said, someone else got to take him. I can't deal with Doug anymore. I'll take him. I hated this guy. He made me smile. If I walk around here and see you not smiling, I'm going to kick you the fuck out. No ifs, ands, or buts. I said, what? And this is bullshit. Knocking out of the office,
You're mad.
fucking mad. What do you mean I got to smile? There's nothing to smile about.
You fucking smile.
And he's got this big and cheesy grin on his face, and
Yeah.
I'm out of there and I'm talking, I'm fucking fuming, and my caseworker that had enough of me. He says Doug, stop. And he says what's going on? Well, he tells me I need to smile, and I say, why? Why the do I need to smile? He said, Doug, instead of asking why, start asking how.
Hmm.
How and why it works.
You met your match.
Fuck me. I'm going to the gym a little bit, I'm watching all these guys flexing in the mirrors, and I start doing that too, getting that false ego, pride, but not smiling, yeah, I'm looking good, I'm gonna,
Mm-hmm.
but, still, I hated my life. I still had no daughter. I still lost my daughter. My dad was gone. I'm in treatment. I still had no hopes for the future, really. I'd forgotten what I wrote down in my, 1-year letter. And Don would see me there. Doug. And I go, just out of spite. And sometimes I'd see him and I'd just Don.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed.
He could reach you.
He reached me. But
Yeah.
you know what? Who really reached me? And this is how I connected with God. There was a man who reached deep into my soul and brought me to a place where I connected with my higher power. This man was Jason. He volunteered at the treatment center at nighttime, giving out the medication.
Mm-hmm.
I needed my nighttime meds so I could sleep. And, we wait in line. I'm usually the last one there. So, Doug, how's it going? Oh, great. How come you're not smiling? Because everyone knew, all the counselors knew I had to smile. All the staff knew it was a requirement for me to smile.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now working on my step 9 at this time. Hey, Doug, how's it going? I'd be working on this. Lots of writing. I did a lot of writing. I need to make these amends letters. Step 8 was
Make the list.
make the list.
Yeah.
Become willing.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few people I was willing to make amends. One of the people said, "What's the biggest wedding you ever went to?" I don't know, 200 or 300 people. That's how many people should be on your step 8 list, because I'm sure you made a fool of yourself and embarrassed someone at that wedding social.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had 10 or 12 people on this list. My family, aunts and uncles, my mom, my dad, my daughter Cassidy, my daughter Roblyn, my ex-wife Lori. The woman who embezzled the money off me, her name is not on that list. I don't think it ever will. I don't know. More will be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to write this letter, and why am I here? Why was Doug seeking relief from the way I felt my entire life? And the biggest guilt and shame I had was Cassidy. My part in causing my wife to leave, which led to my daughter suffocating on a plastic bag in her crib at the age of 9 months. That's how she died. Suffocated on a plastic bag. Who would give a kid a plastic bag to play with? Well, maybe another 5-year-old kid might bring a bag of toys into the crib and give it to the little girl so she has a stuffy to play with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, from my recollection, that's what happened. So I needed to find a way to make direct amends to my daughter Cassidy, who is dead, who is gone. How am I going to do this? So this guy who asked me for months on end, "Hey, Doug, how's it going?" Fine. "Hey, Doug, how's it going?" Fine. "Hey, Doug, how's it really going?" So you got to write a step 9 letter to Cassidy. How am I going to do that? Like, she's gone. Well, what's your higher power? Like, you gotta ask God. I said, there's no God. Like, well, what's your higher power? I says, well, I really don't have a power. I have the treatment center is a power greater than myself because it's giving me rules and guidelines to live my life. The meetings and friends I have, are giving me some hope, and I'm watching some friends take 6 months clean, and my sponsor was taking 8 years clean, and these people are in my life on a daily basis, and like I'm seeing that the program is working for others, but I didn't think it was going to work for me because I didn't think I was going to get past having a higher power. Like you need a higher power. In order for this to work, you need a higher power. What do you believe in? We're at this medication table. I'm the last one there, and we're having now a heart-to-heart talk. And I says, well, I want to believe in a place called heaven. I don't know what heaven is. I don't know if God or Jesus is there, but I like the idea of heaven, and I like the idea that my daughter is in heaven looking down on me. And I like to believe my dad's in heaven, proud of me for what I'm doing with my life.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, just can go with that. What have you got done so far? Well, I said, well, I got a letter written. He says, you want to read it to me? And so, yeah, we go down, and I was in the dungeon. They called it the dungeon. That's where they put Doug, in the dungeon. So, away from everyone.
Yeah.
So that no one had to deal with his depression.
Yeah.
And his wimpy lips. And his sorrow and his negativity.
Mm-hmm.
They promised my cousin. He begged him. You got to save my cousin's life, man. You got to save his life. If he leaves here, he's going to die. No matter what, keep him. So they put me in the dungeon. So I bring him down to the dungeon. It's dark. It's black.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt comfort in there. No light. The darkness. And I read him this letter that I've written to Cassidy. I swear it's like the most difficult letter I've ever written in my life. And he, I could see him with his eyes closed, listening to me read. I see him nodding. And he said, that's a beautiful letter.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Don't change a thing. Read that out in group tomorrow. He gave me the suggestion to read that letter out in group in front of all the other men that were there. And I had watched other men do the same thing. That's the process. They make us read these letters in group, our amends letters, because we talk about our lives and the damage we've caused in group. And alumni that get to keep the key come back to group when they have a day off, and they share their stories about recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And it inspired me, and it gave me the courage to do this. And I read that. And I swear to God, after I read that letter, there was tears and snot bubbles, way more than I got right now. But after that, I swear 100 pounds of weight was lifted off one shoulder. I didn't know it was one shoulder at the time. I just she heard me. She's proud of me. She forgives me. And I don't need to feel the guilt and shame of this anymore. I know she's good, and I know she knows that I'm good. The next thing, I was excited to do my dad's letter because I had written that one as well. So I said, hey, Jason, I need you to listen to my dad's letter. We read that one as well in my room at night. And then, yeah, you need to read that tomorrow in group. Snot bubbles, tears, but there was also laughter in this because there were some great memories, I had. And who I am making amends to for the destruction I've caused, and so many hugs. And there was other men crying as well. There was other men. And after I read that letter, the group was closed. I got so many hugs and man, I'm proud of you. Your dad's proud of you. You've come a long way. And I have no shame, no guilt. I didn't even feel angry anymore.
First time?
For the first time in my entire life, I felt complete freedom from the guilt and shame that has consumed me for such a long time, that was gone.
What's your clean date?
April 10th, 2014.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
EHN Canada is Canada's leading provider of mental health and addiction services, providing evidence-based, medically assisted care with 1-year wraparound services for those suffering from substance use disorder. In Saskatchewan, their care is 100% supported by Saskatchewan Health. To learn more, find their link in the show notes below. Métis Nation Saskatchewan has announced its path for the pursuit of self-government. As an MNS citizen, I am proud to see my government fight to protect my rights. This is our moment. To learn more about the treaty and our path to self-government, go to ourmoment.ca. Pine Lodge, the treatment center I went to 7 years ago when I got sober, offers inpatient addictions treatment and aftercare programming in Regina, Saskatchewan. To inquire about services or make a donation, call 306-510-1891. Wellness News, Choice for Healthy Living, is a local resource that works to connect people to health and wellness-related products, services, and expert advice from industry professionals, locally allowing us to connect and engage. Check out wellnessnews.ca or skwellnesshub.ca today to learn more. To make contact or to learn more about today's sponsors, to check out our merch, or if you want to show us some love and buy us a coffee, all of those links are also in the show notes below. Tell us that. Tell me about leaving treatment. Tell me about getting back into the real world. What were your struggles and triumphs around that?
Well, right away in treatment, no cell phone, no electronics, no TV, curfews. I had a job, I had my own apartment. All those rules were gone. Right away, the first thing I did was get into a relationship.
Oh, you didn't.
I did.
You dog.
Yeah. I didn't get into a relationship while in treatment.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to have to wait.
Didn't they tell you you're supposed to wait a year?
No, actually, no.
Okay.
They encouraged getting into a relationship, but building a healthy relationship, introducing your girl to your support group, waiting 90 days before having sex with this. Like, we're speaking for a men's perspective, but also there was gay men in our thing, but waiting 90 days before having sex with your partner. Also, not to disrespect partners, not to use sex as a self-fulfilling need. So I took some of these things into account, and in my step 4, looking at my relationships, oh yeah, Doug was no good. Doug was no good. And I need to protect my daughter, my youngest daughter, Sage, now, from finding men like me when she's 13. I failed at that, by the way. My greatest fear was my daughter would meet a guy like me. From what I understand, she did not too long ago. And she's 13, and man. But anyways, into a relationship, unhealthy, sex, argue, make up sex.
Meetings?
Oh yeah, meetings. Yeah, I was still doing every meeting every night.
Steps?
I was still working on step work.
Honesty?
I was trying to be honest. But unhealthy around my relationships, and I wasn't willing to get honest with my sponsor about it until things were out of control. And I'm calling my sponsor, this girl is such a, and he says, Doug, I said I felt like I'm at work going crazy on my mind because I'm reading something on Facebook. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go get a girl. I'm going to get some dope, and I'm going to show you how it's done. And I'm at work. I can't even think. I call my cousin, Ryan, I need a connection. He says, Ryan, I need a number. He says, call your sponsor. So I call my sponsor. He calls me back a little bit.
Did you pray about it?
No, I didn't pray about it. And he calls me back and he says, Doug, I don't got much time on my work. After work, go straight to the door and I'll see you there. Talk to a new guy. That's what I did. Talk to a new guy. Hey, man, what are you doing? New here? How many days? Now it's not about me anymore. My problems are so small compared to this new guy's. I got a problem with a girl. I got a job. I got an apartment. I got a car.
Yeah.
This guy's...
Didn't even have a gun to your head.
Yeah, didn't even have a gun to my head.
Shake it off, Doug.
And this guy just come off East Hastings, and wow. I take him for coffee, and then my sponsor meets it. We go for dinner. We go to a meeting. We talk about it. He said, okay, end that relationship. You are no good at relationships. You need to work on relationships. We read your step work. We read some of your step 9. What about those commitments I've never read the step 9 letter to my ex-wife at the time, but the letter was written. And I read that letter to my sponsor about how I'm going to be kind, caring, and compassionate and understanding and have empathy and all these words I never knew existed that I learned in recovery. So, Doug, like, every commitment that you made to your wife in that step 9 letter, you just broken in a matter of a few weeks. Stop it. Okay. I didn't really stop. We stopped that relationship.
Mm.
The insanity, the craziness thoughts still going. I was still planning on getting loaded after my 1 year cake, because at that time I was like, 9 months clean, in January, and into that relationship and into that whole thing. And I was still planning on going back to Winnipeg to show my new life, my car, my job, my money, and like
Show everyone how sober you are.
show everyone how sober I am, and
Yeah.
use with my buddy. And I call my buddy, and he says, "Hey, Doug, how's it going? Oh man, yeah, I'm clean. And I got 10 months clean. Yeah, I'm gonna come to Winnipeg and pick up my TV and my microwave that are in storage. Like, I'm gonna go to Winnipeg to pick up a $100 TV and a $100 microwave.
Mm.
That was the ploy to get to Winnipeg, so I can go hang out with some people I used to use with a bunch of money. That I had a jar full of money that it was, my change or to get loaded with.
So you were saving up.
I was saving up to
You
get
had a
loaded, and I was planning after my 1 year cake.
Yeah.
To celebrate being clean. Like, I told my buddy and started making these plans.
Yeah.
He said, "Doug, I love you. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard you say. You are not coming to get me.
Mhm.
Do not come to Winnipeg."
Mhm.
And I shared that with my sponsor. It kind of clicked. Yeah. It really clicked after I took my 1 year cake, because like at the time, after I took my 1 year cake, and my mother was there, and my cousin was there, and my sister was there, and my daughter was there, all my, like, 300 people, or maybe 250 people were at my cake.
Wow.
It was a dual cake. Me and another girl in recovery
Okay.
almost have the same clean date, but
Mhm.
very well respected members of recovery community. So there was we had a small meeting, 10, 15 people. 150 people are in this room celebrating our clean time. I read my amends letter to my daughter, Roblyn. And, she goes, "Dad, I don't care about any of that. I'm just glad you're back in my life. Give me the hug." And it was that point in time I said, I don't want to lose this.
Mhm.
I'm not going to get loaded. I told my sponsor I had plans of getting loaded. Came clean on that. My daughter's in my life. She loves me.
Mhm.
My mother's in my life. And my life is really good. Anything possibly is possible. And I started to get that hope that I could build a new life regardless,
Mhm.
And again, it's a continuous progress. So I don't know. I've talked about my daughter, my mother, my career, myself. I've talked about drugs and addiction in the life.
Mhm.
So yeah, recovery's hard.
Yeah, man.
I don't feel like using to
Mhm.
change the way I feel. Like I just bought everything that I got everything I ever wanted in my life again, and yet I don't.
Mhm.
And it's because of lack of control, lack of powerlessness over people, places, things. And yeah, but my children are the most important thing to me. And yeah, I only know the using isn't going to help.
Mhm. Mhm.
Using to change the way I feel is not the solution. The solution is to get into the solution. Learning to love myself, learning to love others, learning to give back, learning to help other people. It's not about me anymore. It's about other people. And it's really brought to life recently that it's not about me.
Mhm.
It's about my children. It's about my friends. It's about the community. It's about the people who are still suffering.
Mhm.
It's about the people who don't know there's a solution. Because for so long, I didn't know there was a solution. I thought death was my answer.
Yeah.
But I know today that recovery is my answer. Abstinence, complete abstinence, is the only way I'm going to continue to move forward and continue working on myself. And if I walk away from doing the things that I'm doing, I know I would be dead today. So, yeah, like, regardless, I used to have opinions on harm reduction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now open to harm reduction because I know men in this program that were introduced to the answers through harm reduction and who have great jobs, great careers, and great families now. And they have that only because of overdose, 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 harm reduction, clean, safe using consumption sites, being restored on the floor in a using site 8 times. Not my story, another person's story. Being introduced to Narcotics Anonymous, being reduced to therapy, counseling, all other things. I'm not saying Narcotics Anonymous is the answer for everyone. It was the answer for me. It's the answer for all my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I know other people that, through harm reduction, found recovery. If you want to speak to me, if you ever want to say hi, ask me more about how I got clean,
Yeah.
how I dealt with those traumas.
Where do people find you?
They'll find me at my home group Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
The group is called The Ties That Bind Us. It's a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. It's at 527 20th Street.
Can they find you on Facebook?
They can find me on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Douglas Gagnon.
Cool, man.
Reach out.
Thanks so much for joining me, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. I don't know if that's the right word. It's been an honor walking with you through your story today.
Yeah, I hope I shared a spiritual awakening because this was another one for me, I believe.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's it for now, man. So
Thanks.
take care. Okay, if you got something out of that, please hit that like button at the bottom of the screen. If you're not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And I want to hear your thoughts. I'm all about fostering productive conversations about substance use. So if something resonated with you, leave me a comment. If you didn't like something, leave me a comment. I want to hear about it. We've got episodes. We've got over 300 episodes for you to catch up on now. So if this is your first time, we got lots more and lots more is coming. That's all I got for you. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Say, this is Hard Knocks Talks.